Utah was hate crimed and had to move hotels during their time in the NCAA tournament. Despite their first 2 rounds being hosted by Gonzaga, their hotel was in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, which isn't only a 40-minute drive, but it's in a whole different state than Gonzaga, and I feel like that's a problem in itself. Apparently there's a lack of hotels in Spokane, and Gonzaga received a waiver from the NCAA to allow teams to stay in Coeur d'Alene. But on Thursday night, the whole team went out for dinner. While walking to the restaurant, a white truck got near them, revved its engine, and yelled the N-word before speeding off. The deputy AD, Sharmel Green, who is black, said everybody was in shock and just frozen. We kept walking, just shaking our heads like, I can't believe that. Now after their dinner 2 hours later, almost the exact same thing happened again, but this time with 2 trucks. They were revving their engines, making a lot of noise in an intimidating way while yelling the N-word again to those present. Sharmel said, I got emotional and started to cry, and the team had to coordinate a way to walk each other back to the hotel to ensure that they stayed safe. Now they had a police escort, but it was from Washington and they were in Idaho, so they couldn't do anything about it, and that just adds to why staying in a whole different state is such a problem. Utah worked with NCAA and Gonzaga to get a new hotel in Spokane, which is where Gonzaga is, but this still had an impact on the team. Head coach Lynn Roberts said it's incredibly upsetting for all of us.
In this round, here's Charles Big Angry Adams.
Now Cornell, the story out of Idaho is horrible, right? Anyone calling someone a racial pejorative period is horrible, but for absolutely no reason for a man to be saying, I think it was a man in the truck, to be saying these ugly things to these student athletes who have made the tournament, and this should be a great experience. It's just awful, right? It is abhorrent. The men that did it need to be exposed. There should be a job consequence and a life consequence to them, because we shouldn't have any patience for racism at all, right? But with the FBI investigating and the police investigating, I think it exposes a horrifying double standard that you pretend does not exist, right? Saying an ugly word like a racial pejorative, that's horrible. And it's horrible, profane conduct, but it's not a crime. And treating it like it's a crime while ignoring other, because in America right now, if there are ugly words said to a person of color by a white person, it's going to be like this, all over the news, headline, and the FBI is going to come in. This week you had a black man throw a white man in front of a train in New York for absolutely no reason. He was just standing there minding his own business. It was planned, timed to when the train was coming in. It was an evil act. And you cannot find a photograph of the victim anywhere, right? I found his name, I looked it up, but there are no headlines that say black man attacks white man and kills him, FBI is investigating. In Michigan this week, you had a 25-year-old woman plead guilty for running up to a 10-year-old girl and bashing her head into a display at a shopping mall. The 10-year-old girl was white. The 25-year-old woman was African American. She pled to a misdemeanor probation. Again, this was a violent assault, unprovoked. There was no relationship between the two driven by race, no investigation. What we need to do in America is start treating all racialized crimes equally, right? But what we don't need to do in this country is start treating words like crimes, right? If every time you called me mayonnaise man, or I don't know, all the crazy white pejoratives that you use constantly, call me a grand dragon, call me,
I didn't lie.
I'm trying to, obviously you're lying. You know, I'm trying to think of the horrible other weird things that you call me. If the FBI investigated that, it would be a problem, right? While we should be all outraged by this, not a crime. FBI shouldn't be investigating, and it's getting overblown, and it's only getting overblown because there's a white person doing something ugly.
But I noticed in your commentary that you didn't speak about the punctified nature of any man to try to threaten and intimidate women.
Were you not paying attention? Because I started by saying it was horrible.
I hate to see white men or even black men target females. When I grew up, Charles, if a man put his hands on a woman, he was called a punk and a chump. But you see this history in this country where racist-minded white men, bigoted white men, have targeted black females. That's documented history, and committed some of the world's most heinous crimes against them simply because of their skin color. In this case here, it is a hate crime of a terroristic threat.
You using a pejorative as a hate crime?
But,
just using a
but
pejorative.
you're using that to intimidate.
So,
no,
okay.
You're threatening revving up your engine, then coming back 2 hours later and doing the same thing that is trying to threateningly intimidate those young girls.
Everyone that does that should be investigated, Quanell?
Yes.
So if a black person does that to a white person?
Absolutely, because guess what? It may be a bigoted black person who may carry that behavior out.
First Amendment. It's horrible conduct.
The First Amendment, we didn't always have it. Okay. White people always had a First Amendment in America, but not black people.
No one has it when the FBI is investigating mere non-threatening words.
The behavior was
say
horrible.
Ugly things
the behavior was evil. But what I hate is these men who target females. And if the woman who's 25-year-old black woman, you've just pled to beating a 10-year-old child, look,
misdemeanor assault,
the judge should be impeached. Okay. Unless there's some real severe circumstance that we're not sharing right now, that I'm unaware of, that woman should be punished to the full extent of the law. You don't beat no kid like that to get a misdemeanor.
But here's the thing. We want to call things hate crimes that aren't even crimes, right? Where the truth is, well, they're here. This isn't a crime. Saying a racial pejorative is abhorrent conduct, and we should frown upon it.
But using your car to threaten and intimidate them, that goes beyond just a racial slur.
If they would have said, hey, horrible pejorative, we're going to hurt you, we're going to kill you, we're going to do anything to you.
To black people, white guys call him a nigger and revving up their engine, that is saying to us that you finna commit a crime against us.
Do you think that black people
Ask the family of James Byrd.
Do you think that black people should be arrested for saying ugly racial things to white people?
I believe that they should be investigated. If they do that, they should be investigated to see if a crime actually took place.
Okay. The truth is,
but white folks don't have that history.
We have to protect the ugliest speech. Like all your homophobic drivel you drop out. Would you want the FBI?
You know that's not true.
It's absolutely true.
Say something ugly about Israel.
Okay. You want me?
America can protect that.
I disagree with the bombing campaign.
America can protect that.
I think it should have been much more centered on going in and killing those responsible as opposed to bombing entire neighborhoods.
Are you anti-Semitic?
No, I'm just. That's
you sound like an anti-Semite.
No, I don't at all.
I knew you was anti-Semite. Yep, you're an anti-Semite.
You've been so
anti-Semitic
Israel. You're anti-Semitic for it.
But this was wrong.
That the FBI should. It's wrong.
It should be investigated,
but it's not a crime.
Charles, they came back again.
Everything
but they
said
came
was
back
true.
Again, Charles.
Nobody brandished a weapon. Nobody approached them. Nobody threatened them. They said ugly words.
They were cowards.
That's not a crime. They are cowards. They're awful people, but it's not a crime. And if it was directed at white people, it wouldn't be investigated.
I disagree.